If you're not familiar with our company, this is my picture here. I'm on the shop floor at one of our customers. We have been working every day, hands-on, with the Macola software. We are Macola experts. We specialize, and 90% of our customers are manufacturers. The rest are distributors. So we are ERP experts as well. We have been in business forever, 43 years. And we are located in Cincinnati, Ohio. And just a recap of what we do, we develop software. We make software, add-on software, we'll call it, for Macola that makes Macola easier to use, saves time, and increase profits. So that's what we do, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Today's going to be a combination of products that we've developed and also some very good products that are built into the Macola software that not everybody knows about, and we'll be talking about those as well. So this whole webinar today is focusing on best practices, and the theme is automation best practices. So I have this titled here, Top Best Practices Automation Requests. So these are requests that we've gotten from our customers about, for example, how can I get Macola to run faster? How can I streamline my supply chain? How can I optimize inventory? So I'll kind of go down the list here. We'll be able to, this will be on YouTube afterwards, so you can pick it up again there or make a screenshot if you want to capture this. But basically what we're saying is probably the easiest thing to do is make sure that your company is using ACH to pay vendors. Eliminate printing checks. That whole mess is gone. Printing the checks, tearing them apart, getting them signed, putting them in an envelope, putting a stamp on, getting it to the post office, finding out the post office was delayed, or worse yet, somebody stealing checks out of the bank, out of the post office box. So ACH eliminates all that. Other ones that are relatively straightforward, emailing customer invoices. Again, no printing, no tearing apart, no putting it in an envelope, no putting a stamp on it, and so on. And the same for automatically emailing vendor purchase orders. Most companies are either emailing them or they're faxing them, but they first print them and then they scan them and so on. So the next one down is optimizing inventory. That's a broad one, but we'll come back and talk about that. Streamlining the supply chain is also a broad one. The next one I have here is automation. Automate the importing of customer orders and customer payments. So what that means is that we're not having to worry about manually keying in the orders, manually applying customer payments, manually fixing any errors that may have occurred. It all comes in cleanly, and it's over with in a second. I mentioned a minute ago, speeding up Macola. That's not a fault of Macola. It really is a fault of the indexing, and various technical things need to be adjusted, and then we can talk about that. The other one is maybe the last one on the list here. Our newest products are portals. This is for enhancing collaboration with vendors and with customers. And we'll come back. Bart Fannin is going to show us that product. So since we're talking about best practices, I have here the handout. If you, on your webinar invitation, there was a button to click to download these. If you're having trouble finding that, get a hold of us and we'll email you a copy. But these are best practices for using Macola, the Macola software that we have developed. And it starts off with top management leadership, ownership of data. We're not going to go into all this, but the idea is this is a roadmap that your company, any company, can follow. And it applies to every single company, anybody that's using Macola. As it says here, best practices are well known for having an essential role in boosting profits and streamlining operations. So it's really part of this continuous improvement, never-ending continuous improvement. So this is what we've been observing and working with for the past 30 years with our customers. Okay, so we're going to go on to the next slide here. So, we talk all about this, and we felt that it was important today to give you somewhat of a roadmap. So this title of this slide says where to start. So I came up with this title. Bart and I worked on this today. Quick wins for under $5,000. Okay, so let's talk about that. For people who are using Macola Progression, that's the older version, the rock solid older version, we have developed an ACH module for that. So again, no printing checks, no envelopes, no stamps, no post office, no mail, no delay in the mail. If you are using the Macola ES software, or you're using the Macola 10 software, the ACH capability is built into the software. It's free. There's no cost. It's there, waiting to use it, waiting to turn it on. So for those of you listening, that we have maybe a third of our audience today who are controllers or accounting managers, and you're not using ACH and you want to, this is there waiting. Or if you're using Progression, we can help you. Okay, let's talk about the next product, Event Manager. This is not a Leahy Consulting product. This is actually a product that is kind of co-owned between ECI and Exact Software in the Netherlands. But basically, there are some quick wins to email invoices. We talked about that a little before. Email invoices and email purchase orders. It's automatic. All you have to do is have the Event Manager software, and we have modules that will automate that. This next is a product that we have developed, Pulse Archive. It's been around for 10 or 15 years, and it's designed to significantly speed up your Macola processing, and it does it in two ways. It does it by not purging data. We don't purge data. People get real uneasy when you talk about purging data. So what this does is it archives the data to a secondary database, but that secondary database is available. So let's say, for example, that we currently have 15 years worth of sales history or 10 years worth of inventory history. Well, we don't need that much. So maybe we cut it off at 5 years. So the records in beyond 5 years, earlier than 5 years, they are copied to this archive database and removed from your main database. So what happens then is your database gets smaller. It gets what's called re-indexed, and it speeds up. So I have a short recap of what this software does. So this is the archive software. This is the archive software main screen, and these are all the main things. We won't get into the technical things, but the point being here that you decide how many months. So let's take a look down here. Let's say it's the distribution file. Let's take the one that's the most controversial, which is the inventory history file. How many months do we want to retain? So you get to choose. Maybe it's 36, maybe it's 24. And then what this is saying is every time we run the software, it's going to archive this data. Some people don't want to always archive things, so you can turn that archiving selectively off. So the point being that the software is easy to implement, it's easy to run, it's easy to install. Where it gets bogged down is people saying, I can't make a decision. I don't know if it should be 36 or it should be 24. So what we recommend is start off with 36. At least it'll be running faster than it is now. And then maybe in 1 or 2 months, you can revisit this. And then at that point say, well, okay, this is looking fine. We really don't need 36. We're going to go back to 24. And then you go ahead and run the software. After you run it for the first time, it should only take maybe a half an hour to run. So it's something where you can kick it off when you leave at the end of the day. It'll run by itself. And then when you get back, it'll be, and it has a full audit trail of everything that it's ever done, what was archived, and so on. So here, this is a $3,000 piece of software. Okay. We also have a service. It's called Pulse System Pro, but it really is a service. And I'll flip over to that for a minute. And this is a fixed fee service. This is a $3,500 service. And what it's designed to do is it's designed to optimize. We have a Macola or Microsoft SQL Server expert on our staff. So this is going through the process of optimizing your SQL Server. So there's all kinds of things up here. If you get kicked off, if you have messages that don't make sense, this is designed to fix it. So what happens is this is a John Clark product. He has a 92-point diagnostic evaluation, some big words there. And he goes through that. So it's designed to optimize SQL, make it run fast, make Macola run faster and SQL run faster. He also gets involved with making sure that your backups are working and the backups are backing up all the databases and so on. So we even have a discount here. If you buy this, if you have this, we have a discount for the archive software. But again, this is a service that we offer, Pulse System Pro, and it's designed to significantly improve all your applications that use SQL. So Event Manager uses SQL, Synergy uses SQL. So this is designed to improve that tremendously. So we've never had anybody walk away and not be able to see the results, not be able to see right away that this is helping. Okay. This last one I put down here doesn't really have to do with software. It does have to do with month-end and year-end processing. But what I see occasionally is companies that seem to take forever to do the month-end processing or the year-end processing. Let's focus on month-end for a minute. If you assume that Macola is a river, it's a river of transactions, and we're just like taking the big knife, like into a piece of cake, and we're cutting that knife down. This is our end. This is the end of the month for our month-end processing. And Macola takes care of all of this for you. There's no need to be waiting until the second of the month, the third of the month, the fourth of the month, the fifth of the month. We have a customer who waits until like the 10th of the month, and what they do is they prevent anybody else, so they get no sales transactions for the first 10 days, no invoices get posted, no production gets completed, everything in the company stops just to let Macola. So the point being that a quick win here is to focus on areas that we can help, or areas where you can streamline and shorten the number of days. Year-end processing sometimes takes a bit longer, especially if there's a physical inventory involved. But Stacy Bennison on our side, some of you probably know her well. She is a CPA and she's very equipped. She's been on your side. She was the controller at a Macola customer for 10 years. That's where I met her. And so the idea is these are the quick wins under $5,000. Okay, so we're on to the next screen. Okay, so I have the quick wins. So once you've worked on that, the next screen talks about, well, what should we do next? And we talk here about our Pulse dashboard and analytics software. A lot of you are using the dashboard software. We appreciate your support of our software. We're constantly coming up with we're constantly coming up with enhancements to the software and new reports. So even though you may have started using the software 10 or 15 years ago, you want to make sure that you keep the latest update. So Bart is sniffling with a cold. I get the hiccups all of a sudden. Okay. So what is unique? There's all kinds of people out there that have reports. You know, you hear this SSRS, you hear this business, all this. Um, the advantage of our dashboard software is all the reports are pre-developed. You are not the pioneer. Everybody who's gone before you is saying these reports are working fine. And it's not a do-it-yourself product. There's some excellent reporting tools out there, but they expect you to hire somebody who is report centric and can. So our reports all are working. We've thought of everything that needs to be reported, and we have a custom software function as well for reports that need to be new. So the idea is that there's no do-it-yourself. You can customize the reports without IT assistance, without a technical assistance. But almost more importantly, we have embellished the Macola database in the supply chain area. We've embellished it tremendously. So the inventory sales metrics that are not in Macola, the Macola database is wonderful, but it's missing a few things, and we've added that. So let me demonstrate just a little bit of that right now. And for those of you who are not using dashboard, I'll just use this report as an example. Everything has drill down. So I am just clicking on a report, and what's happening right now is every hour, if you haven't used the software for an hour, it wants to refresh itself to make sure you have the latest data. So I unfortunately I forgot to refresh this. This will be over in a minute. But the idea being that everything has drilled down, all the graphs have drilled down, and from there you can move the fields around. You can add additional fields. So we'll come up with this in a second here. This is frustrating. Well, we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. Or is that still? Oh, yeah. Okay. So let's start that over again. You can click on anything to see the underlying detail. So what I'm doing here is I just want to see the orders that have arrived. And some people, they want to have the item description over here. The point being that you can move these fields all around. If there's a field on here that you're missing, you can add it. These are all fields that this is our data dictionary that you can add. You don't have to be IT centric. You don't have to know we changed all the fields into business English. And this just happens to be a really popular report. Basically, let's say it's Monday morning, everybody's arrived. I'm clicking on the orders that came in over the weekend, and now I'm going to scrutinize, why do we have orders that have all kinds of different varying margin percents? So this is an actual report that we developed with the customer so that they could monitor before they accepted the orders. Okay, so you might say, so what? Let's take a look at something that does apply to everybody, and that is we created a collections function, accounts receivable collections notes. So now you can have the phone number to call, you can have the person to call, you can drill down and see the underlying everything that they owe. You can add collection notes at the apply to level. You can add collection notes at the customer level. And because of the wonderful printing capability, what you can also do here is while the customer is on the phone, you can print out a collection report and then you can email that to them. Pretty cool. And most everything we have in dashboard is all customer suggested. So years ago, we just had this was our aging report. We drill down. Now it's all kinds of different details. So this is just an example of what we've developed. We also have reports that are specific for certain people. So if you're the operations manager or the inventory manager, these are a bunch of reports that you can focus on. So for example, if your operations, you want to focus on time shipping, you want to focus on your backlog of orders, your flow of orders. And what we've done also in the sales and marketing area is for the first time, you can enter a budget. So now you can compare now actual sales to the budget, and the budget can be by customer, by item, by category, by a variety of things, by salesperson. This is just an example here of the product categories, and I'm looking at my month to date invoiced versus my month to date budget. So you can now have variances and so on. So this has been extremely popular. For the first time, you can have budgets. I mentioned before that we're doing a lot of things in the inventory area, and for those of you who are inventory people, go ahead and refresh this. This is a simple stock status report, but these fields here in the cream color are fields that we've added. So in other words, yes, the Macola database is very, very good, but it's missing months of inventory on hand. It's missing usage statistics. It's missing the ability to analyze why do we keep buying something when we have 2,000 months of inventory on hand. We also, so these are all for they can be added to any report. This is an example. Now you can look at usage, 12 months worth of historical usage. You can also look at 12 months worth of historical on hand. So for the very first time, you can look back and see what the on hand quantity was 2 months ago, 3 months ago, or 4 months ago, or so on. So we'll come back to this. Maybe one more thing to look at here in everybody does things differently in supply chain. And so we've had to come up with reports. I'll give you an example. Some people focus on waiting until they're going to release the order to the floor to figure out, do we have shortages or not? Other companies, when the order comes in the door, they want to be able to analyze whether they can make it or not. So let's take a look at this. These are order numbers. So I'm going to click on this product here. And what this is going to do down below, this is a summarized bill of material, and it's saying, oop, these 3 components, you can't make it. You don't have enough on hand. This one happens to be over allocated. We have a lot on hand, but it's over allocated. So again, the point being that when the order comes in the door, or at least the first couple of days, I can start having somebody monitor this and determine where are we. So if this order is due 45 days from now, we have time to react to fill that shortage. If this order is due next Monday, you're in trouble. So we're doing we basically, in our dashboard software, not basically, we have written our own MRP module. There's nothing wrong with Macola's MRP, but people want it to run faster. And so ours is pretty much a real-time, instantaneous MRP. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a insight as to how how Dashboard might help you on this. Right now, we're going to talk about our collaboration portals. Maybe before we do that, Bart, are there questions that have come that?
Yeah, I think just one from before, back with archive. There's a question that, could you go over again how you view the archive data once it's been archived, if you need to find something?
Oh yes, when you have Macola up and you display the database that you want to go into, this is just another database. So in progression, for example, when you do a database open, you'll see like the 002 database, and then you'll see 002 archive.
Okay.
So it's always there. It may be that you don't want everybody in the company to look, to have the archive database accessible, but it's just, there's no magic. It's just it's a mirror copy on day one. It's a mirror copy of your Macola Live database.
Okay, I think that was it. If anybody else has any other questions, feel free to go to the questions section and type it in there.
Okay, so I'm going to change presenter for a minute to allow Bart to be the presenter. Okay. And while he's getting ready, our experience has been, now some people may have to in Zoom here. I'm going to change it to full screen. The really interesting thing, and this is a human dynamics issue, is, you know, I mentioned before, you know, how many months are we going to keep? Well, we're not sure if it's 36 or 24. We can't decide. We can't decide. So we've done some studies and really have determined that with the exception of the accounting department, nobody ever really goes and looks at that archive. It's going to be there. It's a safety net. You know it's there. You're happy to get rid of that old data, but very, very few people are looking back at it. Okay, Bart.
Okay, you see my purchase order manager screen okay, Mike?
Yep.
Okay. Right now, this is one of two products that's using the same tool. We just license this based on users. One is our Pulse Purchase Order Manager software. This allows real-time vendor interaction between your company and your vendors. The idea is to collaborate in one place, have all your purchase orders here in one place on your IIS server, connecting directly into Macola with user ID and passwords that they're just going out to on the web and signing in with. Full security is available in those cases. And that's all I need in this case. No other VPN access is needed. I'm just going to mainly show you the vendor side, but the customer or sales order side is very similar. It's the same tool. So just know instead of working with purchase orders, we can also do the same with invoices and our customers and have them interact as well.
And I should mention, if I can interrupt just for a second, this same screen, this is a web-based product, so your vendors or your customers will have the same screen on their desktop to be able to look at data. So it's real-time interaction with the vendors.
Yeah, so right now, as I'm drilling into these, this is looking directly at our test environment or our demo environment for Macola. So if I were to make a change in Macola, I'd immediately see it in the software. There's no upload or download that would take place. So as Mike mentioned, and similar to dashboard, I can customize this dashboard on here to what we're kind of calling groupings that we refer to as hubs. And I've got about 4 on here that I'm using specifically for this demo. If I were to sign out and sign in as a vendor, like Mike said, I might have a different layout and I might have less choices because you'll notice here items that are waiting on supplier are 12, missing promise dates 133. Well, I can tell you these types of shortcuts that we've got are across the whole company. If I sign in as a vendor, I'm going to see just the missing promise dates for that vendor and just items that are waiting on supplier for that vendor in that case. Show you a couple other examples. These are all shortcuts. Typically what's happened is we've gotten to the print purchase order step within Macola, or you can actually create new purchase orders directly through this software as well. Same idea with sales orders too. Okay. Show you a couple other things here. So the idea is collaboration back and forth, less emails, less voicemails, less, hey, did you get my order? Is it ready to come next week? And they say, we never got your order. What are you talking about? You would know that through here because we would be able to see whether they've actually looked at the purchase order yet or not. And what we're doing is causing them to sign in and look at the purchase order within here instead of sending it to them as an attachment. Okay, so what I'll do is I'm going in and I'm looking at the open purchase orders that are waiting for delivery from our suppliers. And I've got a list of columns here that's similar to Pulse Dashboard. I can drag and drop, change the order of these, And I can also add any new columns that I would like to the screen as well. Okay, so if I want to add order weight, same idea as what we've been doing across the company is we're trying to not force you to know the Macola field name. You can still look up that way, but here all I'm doing is typing the letters ORD. It finds the 3 or 4 matches that I've got. I'm going to select order weight. I'm going to click the checkbox. Order weight's been added to the screen, and I can drag it somewhere else in order to save it at this place if I choose to. Then I can save this search, override my current one, or I could make a new search with that. That would be open purchase orders waiting on supplier with order weight would be an example. Notice here on the right, I've got a viewed date. So with our demo database, they're all empty, but this is one way to know, hey, it's been a couple days and Jim at our current vendor has not viewed this. So maybe then that's when we send a follow-up email or a call. We find out, oh, Jim's on vacation, Jim's sick, Jim's on leave, Carl is going to take over, and then you could resend it at that point. But for the most part, what we do is when we create a purchase order, an email will go out to your vendor. There's been a new purchase order created. Please click this link to view the purchase order. Can be an example of what the email would say. There's no attachment on it. So I'm going to narrow down my vendors to just one particular vendor and look at the open purchase orders with them. And let's say this one had just gone out to them. They would receive an email. They would sign in. It would take them right to this. I would then know they've at least viewed the purchase order. On the screen is the exact header that I have outside of Macola. Again, if there was a change for some reason in Macola on any of this data, I'd see it right away. And then down below, I have all the line items for that purchase order, except we've added one feature that we like to show you. That's the ability to put in unlimited notes for this purchase order per line item. Okay, so notice we've put in about 3 line items for you, an example on here. Then what I can also do is come up to the top and I can put in general purchase order notes. Okay, and on this one I'm going to have a little bit more detail. So I'm going to know who did it, when they did it, what the note was, and if a vendor or let's say your purchasing manager puts a note in and they have this checkbox checked, an email will go out. For example, if I did it as the purchasing manager, it would go out to my vendor. There's a new note to read, and I would actually still know they could be in here. They could have viewed this. There's an acknowledge button that they would be able to choose to say, I've actually read that note. And I would have a list being able to show me if I back out here, are there any notes that have not been viewed? Okay, so notice I've got notes for me to read and notes for our supplier to read. So as far as my to-dos, I'm going to come in, try to work that down to 0. Hopefully they're getting notifications. If they don't after a while, that's again when I would contact them. Okay, show you a couple other features inside the actual purchase order. I'm going to go back into my particular vendor. We'll go back into 24-00. And I'm going to open up this documents area. This has been a big request. It's the ability to put unlimited documents and attach them to your purchase order. Okay, there've been a lot of requests with this. This can stay out here as long as you want it to be. So it can be a PDF signed copy of a purchase order. It can be work instructions, diagrams, spreadsheets, whatever it is you can put out there. You'll know who put it and when, which is good if I have version 1, version 2, version 3. I could leave those out, or I could delete the previous versions when I'm ready. One thing that I can then do is I can collaborate with my vendor on, let's say, the promise date. Okay, so I could come down here and I could change the promise date. Maybe it's set to come this Friday, but I'm going to ask for it for tomorrow. Okay, and once I come down, I'll just save this. I could put a note in, but they're going to get notified that there's been a change to the promise date. Once I save it, it's making a history change of what changed on this. It's not changed yet until the vendor approves. Same as if they did the same, if they did that to me. If they said we can't make the 15th, is the 18th okay? All right. What I would then do, I would get notified, they would get notified. Once they click the link, they would come in right as the screen looks right here. Notice that the old value was 15th for promise date. and the new value is 14th. Okay, they would have an approve button if they choose to approve. If they click at it, come up with something different, then I would get notified and I'd be given an approve button. I think I'll just show you one or two other things. I'll let it go back to you, Mike. Okay. One of the nice things that we've done is try to combine, well, what happens when my vendors are late, okay? So notice here we've got our missing promise dates. Please go in, put in the promise date. We're all on the same page as to what the promise date is. You committed to it. You still might not get it on time, but at least there's no confusion of, no, we promised the 16th and somebody else says, no, you promised the 15th. But over here on the right, unlimited shortcuts of being able to query the database in what you would like to be able to see. We can assist you with all this, but here's a nice little example of late purchase orders that will make my manufacturing orders late. So it knows what I'm ordering here based on that purchase order, and it knows that, hey, Bart, if I don't get this on time, we're not going to be able to get the manufacturing order out on time. So if I had a list of these might be the ones that I'm going to pressure the vendor to get to me as soon as possible. Right. I think that's it, Mike, unless there's something I missed that you would like me to show.
No, I think that was excellent. And again, this is real time. I think you picked up on that. So if something is keyed into Macola, it shows immediately on the portal. The vendor is getting the information immediately. If the vendor is changing something, they're changing the due date, you can have that update Macola, or you can have that approved to update Macola. So it's real time, and it's just really helpful, especially as supply chain issues, it's craziness on what's going on worldwide. This is helping you keep more real time. Okay, so where are we? Well, we started at the beginning, quick wins under $5,000. We then went to the next screen, which was what to do next. We had dashboard up here, and we had the portals up here. So we're going to go on to our next phase, which we have mentioned here, solutions that require a longer implementation cycle. And so I'll just go down through this list here. Optimizing the inventory, your inventory, trying to achieve a 95 or 98% inventory accuracy, streamlining supply chain. And now we have two big ones that are coming in. We're going to show you our solution. That is to be able to automatically import customer orders. And those might be orders that are coming in through EDI. They may be orders that are coming in from, if you have a Amazon account or a Shopify account or your own website, those orders can all be totally eliminating manual keying. And then the flip side of that is for every order that you're streamlining and bringing in faster and faster, well, now we have another solution, which is to import the customer payments. So I'll show you that in a minute. Another one that requires longer lead time is data cleanup. We have a bunch of utilities that are designed to help you clean up your item master, to clean up your bills of material, things like that. You would think that inventory replenishment rules might be easy. It's easy to get started in that area, but once you get started, the replenishment rules are going to change because the business is changing. So we have a way in our dashboard software that can help in that. The next one is sort of a specialty of mine, and that is shortening the physical inventory. And I've been involved with companies or been part of the counting team, where it just seems to go on for days. And they have problems with shortage, with recounts and so on. So we have developed over the years a bulletproof physical inventory checklist. And then we've also developed a whole series of Pulse dashboard reports that support that, that physical inventory. So what I'm going to start on right now is talk about importing customer orders. So we're going to go to our Pulse e-commerce software. And what this is saying is I have some orders that are pending, and I'm just going to say import those orders. Now, those orders might be coming real time from Shopify, where our software is logging into Shopify, logging into Amazon, logging into Mayfair, whatever it might be, and bringing those orders down. But in this case, these are orders that have arrived today. So I'm just going to say, and so you can see what was happening. I'm going to clear the screen and do that again. This is saying to us that we have 140 line items that it just brought in. And I'll explain in a moment why I purposely have this red. So the idea is that for each of these orders, what our software is doing is it's replicating 100% of the rules, the editing rules that Macola has. So for example, this cable 70 has to have an AK in Arkansas location. It validates the order data, validates the salesperson, and you can have rules to say, okay, the salesperson may come in with the order, or it may come in, we may pull it out of the customer file. So again, the information, and the reason that we're not just shoving data into Macola is since we are in the dashboard business, we don't shove data into Macola without allowing you to look at it. So let's take a look at this last one. I purposely have created a problem with this. And this is just an example of, you may say, well, this won't happen. So you see there's a problem here. It doesn't like this part number. So I'm going to click on the part number. It brings up the Macola item numbers. I'm going to type in BU. There's something wrong with it. This BUS, that's data. Okay, oh, this is what's wrong with it. It's supposed to be 1S, not 2. So I'm going to click here, and that fixed that. I don't know what to do. This quantity didn't come in, so I'm going to change it to a 1 just to get by for a minute. It's not very realistic. And at that point, the order's ready. And what I can do now is I can push those orders into Macola. So those 10 orders, and it says it imported them successfully. And that's the end of it. Now, what can happen later is somebody may say, oh, you didn't get my order. You know, you made a mistake. You didn't get my order. What happened? So you can go back and look in the history file, and you can see exactly the orders that came in, and you'd be able to determine, did that order come in or not come in? So again, this is designed to work with your website, your e-commerce website, with any of the popular storefronts, Amazon, Wayfair, Walmart, even eBay. If you have somebody who is EDI, and we can download the EDI transaction. So as Scott Geiler, our developer, says, if the order's in a file, we can import it. Okay, so the next one that we want to talk about was the ability to import payment transactions, because now as soon as you start down the road of e-commerce, then and e-commerce could simply be, you may say, well, you know, we develop these instruments, we don't sell them on, but you might sell spare parts on Shopify so that you don't have. So in this case, these are payment records coming in, and I'm going to import this actually is a bank file. So it validated everything in the world, and you know the routine by now. If it comes in red, there's something wrong with it. But the idea being, let's look at one of the good ones here. This is saying this check number, this customer number. Now, for those of you who are in the accounting department in your company, you may say, well, the customer doesn't know their customer number. So what we do here is we take the invoice numbers and we do a backwards reference. We take the invoice number 106 and we go through the open item file and determine who is the customer that has 106 open, or 157, or take a look at this, or 146 or 125, and then we group those. This will handle any kind of allowance, write-off, earned allowance, unearned allowance, anything that can happen. And down here, there's a problem with this in that this invoice number doesn't exist. So, the routine, I can change it. I can fix it. And I have to say apply. Yeah, so now that's in there, and that's the correct one. Now I have to go in and I have to remove this bad one. So now it's fixed. And then again, the routine. We're taking all the edits and validations and replicating those, and then we are pushing that into Macola. This happens to be Macola ES, but we have a version that it works with Macola Progression and Macola 10. Okay, so that allowed us to talk about some of these items here. Let me, for those of you who are our customers, let me get this. This really applies to everybody, whether you're using your own checklist. This is physical inventory, or you're using our checklist. You have to have some way of determining where you are, what has worked, what steps have been followed, what steps haven't been followed. So in this case here, each one of these gets signed off and so on. But rather than dig into the details, you don't care about that today. But this is the number one success factor. Practice, practice, practice. And you may say, well, we do this every year, but you're only doing it once or twice a year. And you need to practice all kinds of things that can go wrong. So if you have the entire plant shut down, you have all of your hourly associates waiting to start counting, and you're saying, well, I don't know what's wrong, but I can't get the tags to come out. I can't get the tags to print, or I can't select them right. Another tip here is that items that are currently negative need to be adjusted. So for example, in dashboard, we have a program in inventory, in the summary, that says items with negative on hand. This happens to be 0. We also have one that says inventory items not counted in the last physical inventory. And then under the inventory module here, we have several analysis reports that really will save time. I can't tell you how many times we've gotten a phone call that they posted the tags and then found out that 50 items didn't get counted. So we have a program here that shows the items that did get counted and did not get counted. If you're using the WISA software and barcode scanners, that's an excellent way to approach this. And what that means then is the variance. Let me find it. Basically, this is a real-time variance pinpointing program. So I can start looking at where my variances are dollar-wise, quantity-wise, and the point being that I can do my recounts immediately. I've worked with companies that wait until 4 o'clock in the afternoon to start their recounts. Well, if the frozen quantity was 1,000 and they only counted 10, you don't need to wait until the end of the day to ask, well, where was you must have counted the wrong part number. So what I suggest is you have recount teams use this here. Like here's our variance. We have an 800 variance. We sort it the other way. And we have so you need to look at positive and negative variances. But the point being, if you're a dashboard user, these reports all come with it to allow you to have a more successful, more accurate physical inventory. Okay, so we're back here again. So we are approaching my promise of getting everybody out in 55 minutes. We started 2 minutes late. I think what we wanted to do here was to maybe emphasize again, one of the purposes of our dashboard is information at your fingertips, that you can modify the reports easily, but we've continued to add more and more metrics in the sales area and the inventory and the supply chain area. So for those of you who are interested or maybe have used dashboard for a long time, but you want to, like, you come back and you say, well, I saw this report here that said we can look at whether we have shortages when the orders arrive. Then you know that you can come back and say, well, I don't have that in my system. You know, what do I need to do to get that? So again, what our dashboard is doing is more time available for making better and faster decisions. So this is kind of a recap. We're down to the wire here. This is a recap of our Pulse software. Now, a lot of people think that Pulse is just dashboard, but Pulse is the family of software. So there's Pulse Dashboard, Pulse Archive, Pulse Lockbox, and so on. So I hope this has been helpful. Again, starting back here at the beginning, where do I start? Quick wins, under $5,000. What can I do next? What can I do after that? Hopefully this gave you some structure. But again, this whole webinar is about getting ready to get 2025, to get January 1st off to a good start. 55 minutes is not enough to cover everything. You may have questions when you hang the phone up. So feel free to get back to me or to Bart or to our support desk. And for those of you who are customers of ours already, we thank you very much for your support of our products and look forward to continuing to work with you.